Hi, this video was inspired by a comment made by Sean Driscoll. Is it possible to actually roleplay in a solo role-playing game? In that comment, Sean said that when it comes to using solo role-playing games or game master emulators and such, the best that you can achieve is crap roleplay. And he said to take a look at some of the actual play videos here in YouTube to see how they are quite terrible. Okay, so first I got to look at things from Sean's perspective. For those of you that do not know, at least when it comes to my perception of his videos, it seems that Sean tries to remove many of the game things in role-playing games, anything related to the game part of a role-playing game. He kind of like modifies it heavily, simplifies things as much as possible. For example, he plays Traveler, but he pretty much eliminates the random tables, if I remember correctly. I don't know how many random tables he eliminates, but he doesn't use those randomizers. He has also removed the initiative in his RPG sessions. So yes, when it comes to Sean, he's all about like quick resolution. But there are those of us that also enjoy the game aspect of a role-playing game. So if you like dice pools and then you draw a card and then you roll on this random table, in my opinion or to my perception, it seems that Sean doesn't enjoy that sort of game. So it would make sense that he wouldn't enjoy solo role-playing game sessions, because when it comes to solo play, because you don't have a game master, or if you are playing as a game master with emulated player characters, you don't have players. So you need to create this sort of AI by using tables, randomizers, oracles. And I think that from Sean's perspective, he would look at that as a waste of time or as an interruption when it comes to the flow of roleplay. And then, well, it's been quite a while since I have seen some solo videos here in YouTube, solo RPGs videos. And I started to take a look at some of them, and yes, well, a few years back, I saw a few good videos, but they were more like session reports. That's how I handle my solo RPG videos. They are more like instructional session reports. They tell you how to adjudicate the results when using this emulator, these results from the table, how to come up with interesting interpretations, but they are more like technical, more instructional. But when it comes to the videos that you usually find, nowadays at least, some videos, it's just the guy talking about what he intends to do, and after he rambles on and on about what he intends to do, then maybe he makes some moves, so he takes some actions with his or her character, and then it feels a bit like a board game. So yes, there isn't too much when it comes to good examples of roleplay in solo RPGs. The content in general here in YouTube is lacking. So this got me thinking, maybe I should make a series of videos where I try to instruct people about actual roleplay. Believe it or not, and perhaps there are some people watching this video that think they are playing role-playing games, when they are in fact playing board games, or perhaps they are having a mother may I conversation, or maybe they are play acting. They're doing everything except playing a tabletop role-playing game. So I'm going to put a couple of links in the description, one to my video where I talk about the confusion between role-playing and acting, and I'm going to put a link to a video where I tell you how you can actually roleplay in a Powered by the Apocalypse role-playing game. I recommend you watch those videos. In fact, I'm not sure, but I think Sean also mentioned that the Power by the Apocalypse RPGs are not role-playing games or something like that. So maybe in that video you can come up with you can take some advice from that video on how to actually role-play those games. Well, that's a bit of a contradiction. If I got it wrong, Sean, let me know in the comments, because I remember that you enjoy the cult live sessions from, what would you call it, the Red Moon channel, and that's actually powered by the Apocalypse. So there you go. Well, like I said, maybe I got it wrong. Maybe you thought that Powered by the Apocalypse was also a role-playing game. I am of the personal philosophy of that you can, as a role player, you can roleplay any role-playing game. So some of you have, well, I have been telling you that for some time now, I've been trying to create this series of videos where I play Shinobigami. This is my next series, and I think that Sean's comment is a perfect excuse to produce these instructional videos where I tell you how to actually roleplay in a solo role-playing game. Because I have some other series of videos, I think they are well received. Well, when it comes to views and thumbs up, I think they are some of my most viewed and thumbed up videos. I'm going to put the links in the description. They are basically like tutorials. The Quick and Classic tutorial teaches you how to play a pre-generated module with Quick and Classic, a module that you have never seen before, of course. And in the Golden Sky Stories case, I tell you how to play a pre-generated module that you have already played or that you ran. In my case, I ran that for my players, and then I use the solo adventuring toolkit to modify several things along the way during that scenario. So those are instructional videos. They don't tell you too much about the roleplay aspect. They are more like session reports telling you how to use the emulators, interpretations of the results, the tables, etc. And how to run the modules, of course. My From the Ashes series teaches you, or at least it attempts to teach you, how to play as a solo game master with emulated player characters. That series is ongoing and it is quite exciting. I am always trying to find the time to continue with the adventure. I hope that the character Corvus survives to the very end. It's a Dark Souls sort of Dungeons and Dragons adventure. Now, before we end this video, I want to give you some tips and advice, some general tips on how to actually roleplay in a solo session. When it comes to the emulation of a game master, you are going to be using those tables, those randomizers. So it is inevitable. If you hate making rolls and checking tables, solo roleplay is not for you at all. Don't even try it. But if you don't mind that, or perhaps you enjoy that randomization, you're going to love solo role-playing games. Let's say that you are playing a post-apocalypse role-playing game. Maybe you roll to obtain some random words, and you obtain some results like camp, highway, business. So now you know, or you think about, or you interpret the result that there is a camp next to the highway in this post-apocalypse landscape, and all sorts of businesses are being conducted there. So you approach the camp, but now you want to act as your character, you want to roleplay. You can frame this in a roleplay mindset by imagining that your character is looking around, trying to spot the different people to see if there is someone of interest. Perhaps you can see some veterans from this war that happened a few years back. They always carry this insignia on their uniforms. Or maybe you're looking for a gang group, gangers that carry these skulls of mutants on their belts or on their packs, their backpacks. So it all depends on how you want to frame the situation. Let's say that you are playing as a very charismatic character. You're not very good when it comes to fighting. So obviously you want to steer things in the diplomacy, social interaction situation. And you are thinking, I am looking for women in this crowd. Then you make your roll because you're charismatic. You have an advantage when it comes to trying to charm or getting to the good side of a female character. So you make your roll, asking, of course, you're going to have to ask questions to the emulator, because unlike a real role-playing game session, where you do not ask questions to the game master, you resolve things through roleplay. In this solo style, you need to ask questions to the emulator. Are there women in this crowd? And maybe you make your roll and you obtain a no. No women. Tough luck. You're going to have to approach this group of people in a different way. But if it's a yes, then you use the mechanisms of your tabletop RPG, your seduction rolls or diplomacy or whatever, to obtain information. Maybe you are looking for work. You are sort of like a mercenary character, and you want to know what this is all about. What's the situation in this camp? Maybe you can find work as anything, as a bodyguard, as a guide, an escort. It all depends on your skill set. Maybe you are a combat-oriented character. So, in this case, you look around and search for people that have been in a fight. You're looking for the usual signs of scars, heavy weapons, or maybe a certain confidence in their walk, in their bearing. And now you ask the emulator, are there combat savvy characters in this group of people? And then you make your roll. And it says something like, yes, and so now you found this combat character, and he's actually missing an arm. He's carrying the huge pistol, and he's actually missing an arm. So this is a complex situation. Maybe you want to approach that character and say something like, you look like a tough guy. I'm sure there's an amazing story behind how you lost that arm. Depending on your role, on the character's disposition, that could go either way. Maybe the character feels a bit proud or honored that you made that remark, or maybe that character feels offended and he threatens you. And now you could take a key action. If the character threatens you, maybe you decide to actually intimidate the character back, or maybe, depending on how savage you are, maybe you actually kill this guy without an arm to show how you are completely remorseless. Merciless, remorseless. And now you start to establish your reputation in that camp. Because they all turn around and you could say something like, I don't appreciate when people threaten me. And then you could say something, is anybody looking for a bodyguard, a guide, an escort? And that's how you start to obtain jobs in that camp. But as you can see, it's not question-driven. It's not a question-driven situation. You are describing the actions of your character. In that case, the character was looking around for something. In other situations, perhaps you are attempting to repair some mechanism, a vehicle. Perhaps you are trying to cure someone. Maybe you know about surgery or medicine, and you are trying to heal someone. You are describing your actions. Okay, I am applying this salve on the wound of the fallen person. Or I am trying to connect the wires and do some emergency repairs in this vehicle that was just recently attacked by this group of mercenaries or whatever. And then when you need additional information, that's when you ask questions to the oracle or the tables or anything. So yes, those are my general tips. Don't think about the solo session as a series of questions. Rather, you are describing the actions of your character. You are speaking as your character. You can keep, of course, a journal. You can perhaps make a recording, like here in YouTube. You can make your solo sessions and put them online, see what other people think about them. It could be handled either way. And it could happen in your mind. Or you can go Robert E. Howard. Did you know that oftentimes Robert E. Howard, as he was writing his stories, he was actually speaking as Conan. When he was writing about this boxer, I forget his name. Steve Costigan, I think it was the name. He was actually walking around the street, shadow boxing, as he was planning his stories. Don't feel shackled, restricted when it comes to how you can roleplay in a solo role-playing game. If you like to speak aloud, like Robert E. Howard, like, I never forget men's faces or women's bodies. Yeah. While you're playing, go for it. If it pleases you, if you like it, go for it. In my case, I just write things down. in a journal, and then in the case, for example, in From the Ashes, then I make the YouTube videos. But like I said, I made them as instructional videos with not putting enough emphasis on how you can roleplay. But now that I can see that there are many solo role players that do not, or rather solo players, solo gamers that do not roleplay, I will try to give some tips and advice and portray such things in my next series of videos, the Shinobigami Solo Adventure. Well, thank you for watching this video, and thank you to Sean for his comment. If anyone else has any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.